It's Lancaster Woodturners Coffee Hour number 178 for November 30th, 2023. I'm seeing 34 on 30 something on screen, 31, and we'll see a few more as we go on the next few minutes. We usually get up toward 40. I have a bunch of announcements. I'm going to make them quick, and then we'll go to what y'all want to show us and talk about. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving, by the way. I certainly did. I had grandchildren in the workshop. My grandson wanted to make nunchucks, whatever they are, so that's what we did. Next Lancaster Club meeting is December 5th, which is next Tuesday, and that's a Christmas event. We're gonna make ornaments. We're gonna have 5 lathes going. There's gonna be no official demo. We'll have show and tell as usual. We're hoping that somebody brings donuts and cookies and things like that. And it'll be a Zoom meeting as well as a live meeting, a hybrid meeting. And then next open shop is the following Saturday, December 9th. And then on December 14th, we're going to have an open coffee hour at the Lancaster, at the space in New Holland. And that's because our AV team is meeting there that morning to take some kinks out of our system and figure some stuff out. And we could use an audience. You'd be the dummy audience, the demo audience for us to experiment with. So if you want to show up and bring some work on the 14th at 10 o'clock at the Kaufman Kitchen space in New Holland, please feel welcome and join us there. We could use the audience. Bowman will be there. You'll get to look at Bowman in person. Peter, I think, as well. He's on the screen down here somewhere. And then I have another thing to tell you about. The club has, and this is purely club stuff, but it might encourage some of you all who aren't quite club members to join us this year. It is dues season. It's $30 for the calendar year, and I am the outgoing treasurer, so you can eat PayPal dues to me if you'd like to join the club. We scored. There's 2 big display cases in the train hall at the Amtrak station in Lancaster, which is the second busiest train station in our state after Philadelphia 30th Street. Lots more people go through there than go through Harrisburg or Pittsburgh or anywhere else like that. So we have these 2 cases for 3 months. They're 10 feet long and 2 feet wide, or almost 10 feet long. So there's almost 40 running feet of display space in these cases. And we're going to make a club project out of that. We figure we can accommodate a piece or 2 from everybody who'd like to participate. We're going to invite everybody to give us 3 slides of 3 pieces, photos of 3 pieces, so that we can review those and select which piece or pieces we'd want to put in the case and how we can make them group and make sense. But there's enough room there to include everybody, beginners especially. This could be your first chance to show a piece of your wood turning work in public, and that could be kind of fun. So we're going to make a party out of this. It's we don't load the cases until May the 10th, so we've got the calendar worked out for when we have to do stuff. And the main thing to know is that you'll have between now and the end of January to get pictures into the committee. And we are going to use the January open shop and January club meeting to set up a photo stage to help anybody who wants to get some help with their pictures. And this is not about quality pictures anyway. They can be phone cam pictures. We just need to see what you'd like to show. We'd like each guy in the club, or each person in the club would like to participate, to select the 1, 2, or 3 pieces of work that they feel best represents them, that's their best work that they'd really like to see on display, and give us pictures of those. And like I say, the committee will choose 1, 2, or 3 of those pieces to put in the case. And then we will curate the case in order to make the display make sense. We'll include wig stands, we'll include examples of all different kinds of work. We're going to do some signage. We're seeing this as a real opportunity for the club out in public and for us as members to have some fun with it and make an event out of it. So that's my big news for the morning. Any questions about that? Might be a moment to ask them, or you can ask them at the club meeting next Tuesday. All right. I'll just say too, the curatorial committee will be myself, Matt Killareski, our past club president, who edits the monthly club videos, so he knows all the work and knows the people, and Thomas Skirto Davis, who is a professional curator. So, and I'm a retired professional editor, so we've had a lot of experience in this kind of area. And then we've got some people who are display experts. We've got a guy on the Junk Earth who's going to do the printing for us. We've got real expertise in this club, so we can pull this off. And you want to get more deeply involved, let me know. We can always use more people both in this project and on other club activities. Okay, having said all that, did y'all have fun on Thanksgiving? Yeah?
Yes. Yes.
Except for you Canadians and Europeans, of course, you have the different holidays. That's what makes a ball game. Okay, let's look at work. Kai, what do you got today?
Yeah, I've got two more birdhouse ornaments to show. I will share that with you. So that is the first one. When I showed a birdhouse ornament 2 weeks ago, John kept asking about turning multiples. So I tried to include at least 4 columns that are multiples. And it took me quite a while to figure out how to make them that small and look similar. So they are
How did you do it? Tell us.
Yeah, I made a little cardboard template with all the measurements I needed, and then I held them against a 4 millimeter stick workpiece that I had turned before, and marked them out with pencil, and then I turned them. So it works also on a small scale, but I broke one, and for the others, it took me about 20 minutes, half an hour to make one. So it looks so simple to make these small things, but in the end, it's quite nerve-wracking, at least for me. Yeah,
Are
it
you
was good
saying
fun.
those columns are like 4 millimeters in diameter? I mean, that's a fat quarter inch, 5/16 of an inch.
Yeah, 4 millimeters in diameter for the columns.
No, that's less than a quarter inch. That's 3/16.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, a bit more than an eighth.
I've gone here.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's okay. So what about these others? We got a bowl turning lathe in there, some little wee pots and things.
Yeah, that's right. So about ball turning lathe and some products from the bowl turning lathe. Sorry. So and the lathe, for example, is, I wrote it down, high 17 millimeters, so about 0.7 inches high.
Why I can't get... Yeah, but there's no volume there, and I have the volume turned up as high as it will go.
And we can hear you talking too, so we're gonna mute you. Yeah, good.
Okay.
Go ahead, Kai.
Yeah. So that was the fun. I have a close up as well. Yeah. Making this bowl here was a bit of a challenge as well, because I wanted to have a little hole in the center here to center it on the, well, chuck or whatever, faceplate I had turned. And so for hollowing out, I had to part the wood off here and then reverse chuck it in a small turned wooden recess. And as there is only a very little bit of wood here, it was difficult to get it centered in the recess and to stay there when I came and touched it with a tool. So it was a challenge to make something that small, but it looks nice and I like it. Okay.
Very cool.
And I've got another one. I call it duplex house color dispute. In Germany, you often have these duplex houses and people cannot agree on a color to paint their house. So you get duplex houses with very different colors each half. So birds seem to have the same problem.
We get that in Lancaster, Philadelphia, and Baltimore too.
Yeah, okay. That was the idea behind that. Right. Yeah, that's it.
Nice. So questions for Kai?
Yeah. And Mike already said that I put them up, all these birdhouses, or these 3 birdhouses that I showed to you, on the As Woodturners website. They have an ornament challenge, and I got the idea to upload it there from Lancaster area Woodturners. There was one kind of mail going round saying that you could upload your ornaments there. So thanks a lot for this good idea.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Kai, what was the chimney-like feature on the birdhouse?
For heating the birdhouse.
On the birdhouse roof, there was a little.
Yeah.
Was that supposed to be a chimney?
Yeah, that was supposed to be a chimney for heating
okay.
the birdhouse so that they stay nice and warm in winter. Yeah, just playing around.
So now, Kai, you'll have to take a page out of Mike. Kai, you'll have to take a page out of Mike Peace's book and make some miniature birds. I started making them. The head of the bird is about 1/8 of an inch long, and the body is about 3/16 or 1/4 inch.
Mike Peace, good morning to you.
I'm going to show something that one of my collaborators, Tomislav Tomasic, turned these. I don't know if y'all saw his video. It looks like a giant clothespin, but they're actually closures for, for a bag.
Nice project.
And these are great.
Nice.
I think they're fast turns. They're great holiday projects to give to people because they don't take a lot of time and effort, when you batch them and get into production mode like Bert does.
I'm going to make some of those. Well, we had that fun a couple weeks ago doing the 4 Ways video project. What kind of feedback have you had on that?
Well, there were some very positive comments. Yeah.
That's what I kept saying too. People kind of liked it.
Great job moderating.
That was a lot of fun. I think I sent you all I sent out a notice this morning listing our current videos, and it included that one. So, any of you would like to take a look at it, we lucked into a pretty good way of showing work and having people's face on the picture with the work to be able to talk about it. It worked out pretty well.
I don't know that I'd call that luck, John. You worked real hard on all that, all those pictures and the choreography. I guess you could say.
Well, none of you all had very good pictures of the work. I had to suck them off your videos, and there was a couple of them where the finished piece was never shown. And since I'm talking here, I'm going to say that that's my critique of almost all of the how-to wood turning videos I see. Show us what you're going to make before you start the video at the beginning. I can't wade through an hour of video to see what the project is. And leave it on screen for 10 seconds or 5 seconds, long enough to have a look at it. Gee whiz, sometimes it goes like whoosh, on and off. Anyway.
John, you just need to go to the end of the video when you start. They usually post them right there. So
that's what I do. Yeah. But
by the way, John, you did a marvelous job editing that up. I looked all the way through it, found it very interesting, obviously, because I stayed the whole way every second. But I thought you did a really nice job assembling it. I thought we had moved into television production.
Thank you. I learned some new tricks.
I figured. I was watching it. Yeah.
Learned some new tricks. I normally don't like picture in picture because what people will do is put a moving picture inside another moving picture with colors that are the same, and it just makes me dizzy. But this turned out to be a good use of picture in picture, and I got control of that in my editing software, which I hadn't had before that. So that helped.
Excellent.
I was
George.
amazed how well everybody cleaned up. They didn't have any chips on them. They didn't have any sawdust. It was incredible.
Well, their wives make them do that. They can't come into supper until they dust off.
None of them were in their shop, though, were they? They were all in their safe space.
All their safe space, yeah. Yeah. George, what do you got today? George Kuipers.
Few Christmas ornaments.
Are those hollow?
Yeah, they're hollow.
And how'd you do that?
With the Trend Bosch system.
Okay.
And then
Hold it
just-
up higher so we can see the rest of the finial, please. There you go. Thank you.
and
Nice
then
work.
stained with some red and green stain. They're not quite finished yet, but still have to put some finish on it.
How many did you make?
Oh, I have about a dozen. And here is a Banksia pot with a finial.
Nice.
No finish on it yet either, but
Very nice.
that's all.
How hard was that? How difficult was the Banksia nut to hollow out?
That's no problem. It's like
Uh-huh.
butter, like butter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody gave me one, but I haven't turned it yet. So I'm going to
I really like the finials on those. Those are really well done.
Thank you.
bring them back and hold them up again so we can see the finials. Yeah, there. And how did you do those?
Oh, just basically with a skew.
With a skew, and they're like held at one end, yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Very nice. Do you draw the finial before you do it, or you have it in
No,
mind? How do you?
I just go at it,
Okay.
and I break quite a few of them, so still learning
Do
with
you?
the skew.
Yeah. Well, it's nice work. Any comments for George? Questions for George? Okay. Gerry.
Hi, I'd like to share the screen.
Go for it.
Do you see it?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
I take it that you see it.
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
He is just, this is a German smoker, inspired by Colwyn Way. And this guy has just encountered a catch, and it knocked his hat askew, and he almost dropped his pipe. And he's about to look to see what's left of the bowl. And I did have a catch right about there making that little bowl, and decided to finish it off with sandpaper. And so, as you probably know, German smokers, he lifts off from the waist up, and there's a platform there that's at the top of his legs where a receptacle for incense, burning incense, fuming, smoking, and then you put the top back on and the smoke comes out of his mouth. And he was fun to make. Probably took as long to make the lathe as it did to make him. And
How big is
I'd
he?
like to show you.
How big is he?
Oh, how big is he? He's about this big, making him about, all in all, about 12 inches. I think he's about a foot tall.
How many
Pardon?
different parts? How many different pieces of wood?
How many different pieces of wood? Okay. I count the ears as one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, not counting the lathe, about 10 pieces in him.
Wow.
I don't work very long per day, so like I did the arms and hands one day, and the head and so on. Something I do there that Colwyn Way doesn't do is put ears on mine, and that's easy to do. Just a slice of dowel, just 2 slices, and then sand the flat place, and glue them onto the sides. And my noses are different, and the hat brim was fun to make. That's a piece of leather from an old belt that's bent and then super glued in place. The hat itself is turned, but the brim is leather. His apron is from an old coat that I wore out many years ago. And okay, there's another one I'd like to show you.
You showed us a whole lot of these. You showed us a whole lot of these last year, and I actually sucked them out into a separate little video. So
yes,
I'll
thank
probably
you.
post. Yeah,
That was very kind of you.
admit,
I'm trying to.
great little show.
Hey, one question before you go. How did you get Bert to sit still that long for that, for the model?
Well, I
Does
was
look
going to
like
make
Bert.
it. Well, where did my soldier go? He's a nutcracker, and unlike my other nutcrackers, he has the required teeth. They're supposed to have teeth, says Colwyn Way, because they're charms to keep away evil spirits that you put out before Christmas, and then when Christmas comes, you put out the smoker. So this guy would actually crack nuts if they're small enough. He does have a working mechanism, and as you can see, he's lots of pieces also.
Is his beard wood or fur?
No, the beard and mustache are fake fur, and it's easy to make that mustache. You just put a piece of fake fur on there and then take real glue. And for my mustache, I use a different kind of glue, a got to be glued, it's called, but this is real tight bond, and get your fingers real gooey and then push it into that stuff and then twist. And that'll stay a long, I mean, that will be like that for a long, long time. And everything else is pretty conventional, I guess. So
I think that's wonderful.
well, thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
Hey, you made me think of a song from the 60s when you said, "Where have my soldiers gone?" Remember the song, "Where have all the young men gone?"
Oh yeah, Peter, Paul, and Mary.
Yep,
Where have all the flowers gone?
that's right.
Any other questions for Gerry? Comments for Gerry? Does anybody else make nutcrackers and smokers and things like that, or is Gerry standing alone in that?
Don
Not
Smith.
yet, but he may have inspired me.
Well, you and I made a nativity scene last year, pretty much very similar.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, on Facebook, that was probably the best response I ever got on Facebook was to that nativity scene.
Did we see that here?
Yep, I think
Okay,
so. Yeah,
I guess we must have. I just don't remember. But then I don't remember yesterday either. So
I don't
you know.
either. What was that?
Thanks very much, Gerry. Always great to see your work.
Thank you.
Don Smith.
Hello. Well, Christmas is coming, and I thought I ought to make some Christmas crackers.
Okay, show us how those work now.
One Christmas cracker.
Okay. Do it
Did you
again.
hear it?
Do it again. Nice.
Yeah.
And also,
Oh,
a
look.
smoker.
Love it.
Wait a minute, bring him back. Don't put that away. I got to spotlight you. He went away. Now we got you. Does he move?
The arms don't, but he comes off for the smoker.
Oh, he's a smoker. Okay. You guys are great. I'm going to have to make some of those.
And one
You
last thing. The
You have
last
too
I
much
just
time on your hands, you guys.
made today, another trophy.
Did you make the trophy as well, or just the base?
No, just a base. It's pewter.
Pewter. Show us the rest of the base now. Is there a recess in that? Uh-huh. And what's the bottom look like? All right. Good work.
Very nice.
That's me for today.
Questions for Don?
What kind of wood is that, Don?
The trophy?
No,
Mahogany.
no mahogany.
Yeah.
What wood was the crackers? What kind of wood did you make the crackers from?
Ordinary pine, deal,
Yeah, okay.
softwood.
How do you make how do you get the good fit? What do you do? What's your
Right.
process?
The process is piece of wood is this long,
Yeah.
and then you put it between centers and put two spigots on. So
Yeah.
you put it into your chuck, you put your first piece in, and
Which one's the first piece?
this is the first piece, which has got
Okay.
the big hole.
Yeah.
And this is 1.25 inch hole. and you go,
Is that bored with a drill?
yeah,
bored with a
Forstner
bit?
with a Forstner bit. And then when you've done that, you haven't turned it round yet. You then take the other piece, you bore the center of that, so that you can put something in here for Christmas, as long as it's not a sweet, and turn your depth of spigot and then make that the fit whilst it's still on the lathe. And then I always
Come on back here now.
Reverse
Hold
it.
on a second.
Yep.
Now go back to the fit. What I'm interested in is what tools are you using to make that fit, and how do you make a little taper at the start, or what's your process for making the fit?
I use a skew on here.
Yeah.
And get it almost down to fit in, and then slowly fit it on by sandpaper, so that you don't take too much off until it fits all through nicely.
So you have to push it together because you have to push air out of it, right?
You have to push it together, get the air out. And then what I do is I reverse it and hold it, and I drill that end. But then when I've got that drilled, I then line it up and I turn the whole base, the whole piece. Then I turn it round and with a jam chuck, put that on so I can drill that end and finish it off.
All right. We did a little video of showing the finished crackers a couple of years ago, but we never got a good explanation of how you make that long fit and just how tight it has to be.
Yeah, it is really just a friction cut. No, there's another one here. That's another one.
You wax it, or is there any finish on that, or is it waxed?
I put sander sealer on, and then I buffed them.
So it's basically a little bit of shellac or lacquer.
Yeah, cellulose sander sealer, and then I just buffed them up on the buffing wheel.
Very cool.
Nice and smooth. And then I just add the little piece and a bit of ribbon.
It's interesting how some of these different countries have different Christmas ornament styles, because I'd only recently seen crackers, and I'd never heard of the Christmas tradition of the smoker until I saw Colwyn Way on the Axminster demonstrating those.
Well,
Yeah.
I grew up in Canada with English ancestors, and we always had Christmas crackers. They were colored paper, and there's a little piece of paper in there with a bit of a tiny dot of gunpowder on it, and you pull on it and it goes snap like a cap gun.
Yeah.
And usually a little plastic trinket falls out and falls into your whatever you're eating at the time. You do them around the table, people hold them this way, and everybody pulls them together sometimes, or you do it with the person next to you. It's part of the British consider it fun.
Yeah, with a paper hat, a motto, and a little gift.
That's it. Paper hat comes out too. A little,
Yeah.
some kind of paper hat, and a Chinese fortune.
All sit around the table with those hats on, looking stupid.
I like your crackers, Don. Very nicely done.
Thank
and
you.
they are
Carl.
environmentally friendly, so you can reuse them the next year.
Absolutely.
That's what this lady's just bought the 8 for.
You could dye them too. You could take up the red and green dyes that these guys use and make them like the paper ones.
Oh yeah, yeah. Lots of things you can do. These are 8 inches long, by the way.
Okay, and then the diameter, the maximum diameter, what, 1.5 inches, 2 inches?
1.25 inches, 1.5 inches, depending on the timber. And if you have to then adjust the 2 inner holes accordingly to your diameter of the outer side.
Right. Any other questions for Dawn? Okay.
Okay,
Carl's up
thank you very
next. We
much.
have Carl. Thanks a lot, Dawn. Carl's up next. We haven't heard from Carl in a while on here
So
at all. I don't.
I'm gonna try to do a share here, and I will probably screw this up since it I inadvertently put that out a minute ago, and that's what you saw, that bowl pop up. I didn't realize it when I did that I was gonna interfere. So that's coming up. So this is an oak burl bowl. Some of you saw at the Lancaster meeting last, with a Coke can next to it for scale. It's 14 wide, a little over, and a little over 6 tall. It's an ancient oak burl bowl, and this was accepted into Works in Wood in New Hope. Pretty nice show, pretty prestigious. Small show, national invitation, juried exhibition sale at a gallery, runs from December 9th till January 14th. So anyway, it was nice to be
So is that a
included.
Is that a bead on the rim?
It's not quite a bead, it's a square edge bead, for lack of a better description. I put that there, so the lip is inclined in, like most of the bowls that I make, and it's an undercut inside, but I wanted to make your eye look at it a little differently and draw your eye in. So it's a raised edge on the inside. Think of a square bead or an unrounded or uneased bead, but it is square edge. So
And what's your,
go ahead.
What's your finish on that?
That is one coat of natural Watco. It's not intended to be a vessel to use. And there was another, sorry. Oh, damn it. There was a better picture. Hang on. Sorry.
That's okay. You're doing fine.
Yeah, it's, for me, tech is great. If you the best way to fix a computer is with a hammer or a 40 caliber. So you can see in the bottom there's a bark inclusion. Well, the underside of that, I don't have a good image of the bottom of the bowl. There's a large cavity where bark had been under the tenon. My point is that there's a lot of fractures and so on in this piece. It's never going to hold anything liquid or anything like that. So I wanted to give it one coat to accentuate the features of the wood, but I didn't want to add a lot of shine. There was a debate about that with some friends of mine who are professionals, and they were back and forth, but we all agreed that a coat of the satin would be fine. So, but
so how did you keep that from flying apart on the lathe?
Yeah. Well, you saw that. It's I did everything you're not supposed to do. It was unrestricted. I did not bind it. I was thinking about binding it with either you can do it with electrical tape, you can do it with shrink wrap, you can any number of things. I didn't do that, and that was probably not the best choice. But I really wanted to have a clearer view of the wood and see the dimension if it was changing. Was relying on my eyes to tell me whether or not it was moving, and that actually helped me. So when the tenon that was a little tenuous did actually move a little, I was able to see that, and I think having something around the outside would have made it harder to pick that up. One of the hard parts about this piece was because of the fractures, because of the marginal tenon, I started the outside to get it to its finished shape, had to abandon that, move to the inside, get that shaping done, and then go back to the outside and rely on some more sanding than I typically would to pick off some of the remains of the tooling. You make a bowl, you do the outside, then you do the inside. This I had to do a little bit in the reverse because of the pressures applied to the tenon as it's flying around. That was at one point it was spinning at about 800 RPM, but I slowed down as it progressed. I needed the speed in order to keep the catches from becoming severe. With good tool control and a minor catch on a fracture at speed, it's not going to be a problem. But if it's slower, as you all know, it can. Speed is your friend when you're trying to get past something. So, but anyway, it worked out fairly well. I like it, and it's been really well received. So I'm curious to see what happens.
Did you core that as well? Did you take a couple of cores out of it?
It was cored, and those pieces someone else has. So
okay.
So thanks.
Questions for Karl?
Yeah.
Questions for Karl?
I have
Karl's
a comment.
Karl's a new member of Lancaster Club, but he has belonged to Keystone for quite some time, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Ken.
I'm taking over from Thomas Skirter Davis, president, at the end of the year.
Good for you.
For Keystone.
Okay, Ken Vasco.
Yeah, I was just wondering if Karl has a website. I'd like to take a look at some of his stuff.
No, I don't. Sorry. I probably should, but that's on the list of things to do.
And you're turning on what, a Powermatic or a one-way?
I'm a one-way. I'm a one-way kind of guy.
By the way, John, I was thinking of this with an earlier comment. It would be nice to have a listing of who's on Facebook. Gerry, apparently you are. You mentioned responses on Facebook. If you are, then I would go searching for you.
I couldn't find you. I wanted to send you a friend request. If you can find me, please send me one, because I'd love to be friends with you on Facebook.
Yeah, I had to change my settings on who could friend me, because I was getting a lot of unwanted ladies from the Far East, and I just finally made it so only friends could. I'll change it. I think it's changed if you're a friend of a friend, but that doesn't always happen here either. So.
Okay. Any other questions for comments for Karl before we let him go? Thanks, Karl. That was a good introduction.
Thanks.
How about you, Bowman? What do you got today?
I have some fun stuff. Yeah. It's kind of typically me, but the one thing I want to show you guys is a light I found recently. Lumecube makes ring lights out of LEDs for those of us in the photography world, and they're moving into making some lighting for people who do, you know, videos for YouTube and stuff. And they had something called the Edge Light, and I bought one. I bought two, actually. One's going to the Lancaster Club if they find it useful. This is, I fastened it to my lathe ways, and I did not clean up my shop, by the way. And then shine it. It's about, at this distance with this lighting ratio, it's about 30 inches away from my headstock. So this is what it looks like reverse. And this is what it looks like with the light on me. So you can see well into a hollowing out form. I like a lot of you do, have Cindy's little 3 or 6 LED magnetic strip. It's always a pain to know where to put when you're down in there. I stick it on the backside and then the cord gets tangled. So I'm pretty delighted with this, and I'd suggest if you are videotaping, it's really helpful because it's soft light. And I came upon this because John was trying, John and the crew at Lancaster Club last time we were trying to do shots of a guy turning something. Oh, I think it was Toby. And the light that they were using so they could see was just burning up the image. And these little Canon cameras don't handle that writing ratio. So I think lighter light, softer light is always better when you're doing video, particularly contrasting. Now,
Yeah, the hot spot of the light just washes out, and
Yep.
so I'm going to look
Yep.
forward with this. We'll try it on the lathe.
Yeah, and I
Alright.
also want to look at the settings on those Canon cameras. I think you might be able to reduce the contrast rendition and also help us. Now,
All right, we're counting on you for
here's-
that.
my neighbor who passed away this a year or so ago of cancer at 86 or 85, was a pack rat kind of in his own way. And here's old porch posts from his cottage he had taken down and laid down. I helped his daughters, his adult daughters, fix up the cottage porch. And they said, Jim, you can have any of these. Well, that was an invitation. I turned them first, and I don't need to be spending a lot of time on this if there's other people waiting. I spent a lot of time turning. They had, they wanted urns for their dad's ashes. They're like 3 daughters and a mother. So there's 4 different people that have urns. They wanted urns. They now have his ashes in little glass jars. And I turned them, let me see, the first thing I turned just for kicks was kind of a proof of concept thing. I used the square part of the posts and I left flat spots so that they could see the paint original. And obviously the wood was very checked. I'm guessing, unless somebody else has a better guess, that this is probably Douglas fir. It may have been 30, 40 years old that it was a post, unless somebody else knows what it is. A pretty strong smell.
Bring that thing back now. I want to
This
ask you
one?
about what. Yeah. Yeah, bring back. Yeah, that's much better. How big is that?
That is about, geez, I forgot to write down. I think it's about 8 inches tall. The post base was 6 inches. So turned down, it was about 5 3/4, pretty close to 6. Since I left the paint on, it is probably 6 inches on those 4 gray things, which you don't see. This one I had originally shot on a turntable, and I only had the still of this, and I didn't want to try to screw around with videos on sharing. So
Where was the house that this was out of?
it's a cottage right across along the river, right across from us here in Maryland by the Bohemian River.
I'm thinking it's probably Southern Yellow Pine.
You think so? I would welcome a clarification. I just guessed because I thought, and you may be absolutely right, John, now that I think about it.
I've turned a lot of Doug fir. That doesn't quite look like Doug fir. That looks like Southern Yellow Pine to me.
Jim, you had said that there was a strong smell. What was the smell? Was it turpentine-like smell?
Yes.
Okay, then John's right. That's going to be Southern Yellow Pine or something very close to it, a longleaf pine. So if Eastern Shore, if that cottage could have been recycled from somewhere else, but that the lodgepole the longleaf pine was very, very, very prevalent on the East Coast. And most of it was cleared off by the first decade of the 20th century in its first cut. I started out in historic preservation, so old woods, identifying them in situ was one thing I did. But that longleaf pine, you can't miss it with that smell. That's where turpentine came from.
This cottage was probably built in the late 30s or maybe early 40s.
Yeah.
Most of the community around here started in the late 30s as a recreational thing for folks from the city, and they were just little cottages. So what kind of pine did you think it was?
It's a longleaf pine. It's not very common to find that wood today in a friendly form. That was a little hard to turn too, right? A lot of resin. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. There's a lot of knots, resins, and this had deteriorated over time. There were checks up through. Let me see if I can show you something else. And the beads I kept because they wanted that, and then this happened to have a top I made from a spalted maple. Let me see what else I made with this thing.
Shavings from that great fire starter.
You're going too fast here. Come on back.
Which one?
You're using these. Yeah, the one you just showed us. You're using this as an urn, yeah?
Yes.
So what's the volume inside?
Okay, that's a very good question. She specified to me that she wanted about 4 inches inside. They're only using, there's 4 people, so they divided up
Got it.
his ashes, and the mother gets one of the tall. I made it, this is taller. This is about 6, 7 inches tall. She gets this one. I think she has more of the ashes. So the ashes they showed me in the glass would definitely fit inside. So I made, it's like 3 3/4. Here, let me
So
see.
you're not trying to accommodate a whole, I mean, we had some earlier conversation about the volume of urns and how to
Right.
calibrate them. And, you know, I think
No,
Bert once
no.
told us he has a bag of rice he keeps just for the purpose of measuring the inside of urns.
This was specified by one of the daughters, who's actually, I can't post these on the web until after Christmas because she's giving these to her sisters and her mom, and she didn't want them to know that I made these for her. So I made her a bunch so she can select some. So
Bring up that one in the middle at the top there, that
This
drum
one?
shape, that one there.
yeah,
I quite like that. That's very nice. That's a good
yeah,
shape.
I cored them out. I cored them out with a big Forstner bit. I worked my way to it. And then I touched it up, or if I had to hollow it, I used a tool to reach in and shave the edges. I didn't turn them down very well. You can see right here. Now that, so I'm about a inch, 1/4 of an inch or more on the actual border. This is the bead here. So, yeah. And the other thing is I made them all the same 3 3/4 inch bore. So technically all these lids could be switched around if you wanted to, but so yeah,
So how
it was
tight is
huh?
How tight are those lids?
I intentionally did not make them tight. I didn't know what this wood was going to do, and I knew that if it was an urn, they're probably going to glue them in. You know what I mean? You don't want to leave a loose lid on it. Is my specification. I'm also going to insist that they make sure they keep the ashes in a plastic bag, because you can see some of the CA glue I used to keep them together because they had some pretty bad splits. So I filled in some of them. Just again, it's very rustic, but it's what they wanted. It's the memory thing, and so I had fun with it. So
I'm enjoying the shapes. You got some really nice shapes there in that whole set.
thank you. I think I tend to have a decent shape on this kind of shape. That's funny.
Yeah.
This one here, somebody, I think it's one of the guys in the club, said this is a sandbag shape, which he's never turned. And then I had to discipline myself because I always turn my vases like that. So I did an inverted one. And normally you would make that a big, long, nice, slender one. Well, it only needs to be 5 inches tall. So I had to make it a pretty abrupt. And then I also had to leave, they wanted the paint on. So I couldn't turn it. I had to sand carefully into it and keep the paint. It was an interesting project. I ended up doing about 6 or 7 of them, and so she'll have a lot of choices. So
What did you do with how did you finish those?
friction, I use shine juice, friction shellac, 1/3 shellac, 1/3 boiled linseed oil, and 1/3 NDA, denatured alcohol, and then friction brush it on. Now, the one last thing I need to say, John, I have never, ever turned a box. Well, here's my very first box made out of the same wood. I had a cut off, and I said, what the heck, I'll make one for it. So there it is. And again, not an airtight fit, but this one fits.
Leave it there.
Huh?
Yeah, leave the slide there for a second so we can look at it. That's a
Yeah.
really nice box.
I was pleased with it. I was pretty pleased. First one I ever made. So I'm going to make more. It was fun. John, you were I was thinking of you when I made these. I thought, John's been turning boxes. Here, let me show you what also is fun about this wood is the pith generally was in the posts, but it was never centered. So it was kind of fun. Here the pith is in the top corner and I'm centering with my brand in the middle. But
That
yeah.
all the more tells me that this was wood felled locally. These were local. This was not imported wood from anywhere. This was wood from right around there.
John, that would be very much my assumption, given the period of history it was. So
Yeah.
Well, so that was right up my alley, using not perfect wood, so. All right, gentlemen, that was fun sharing. And
Jim, I think you did a fantastic job. Did you, on your first piece you showed us there on a turntable, did you have a mirror under the piece?
yes, I did. The turntable I bought has a mirror built into it. The downside of it is when you grab a turntable, you grab right on the mirror, so you got to always polish it off before you turn the piece. So get your finger marks off. Yeah, I had fun with it. I guess I should have showed you I used to show my turn pieces 3, so you got all sides. And I finally said, get a turntable, but then I have to show a video and Facebook needs to render it, and it's just to be a pain. And I didn't know how Zoom would, when I'm going through how Zoom would handle a movie in the middle of stills. So
I'd say it's definitely Southern Yellow Pine, and God bless you for working with that stuff.
boy, I wanted to put a bead on. Hey, forget that. I have one of those really nice bead makers. Who made them? Guy that sold his company to somebody else. I can't remember. He had a great bead design, but boy, as soon as you put it on, it just became chunks out and everything else. I used a lot of 40 and 60 and 80 sandpaper to get them anywhere near. Nice.
I've gotten more splinters from that wood in my restoration replication of beaded joist, beaded paneling, 18th century stuff. And they're the worst, most painful splinters, and they're brittle. Oh, Jesus. It smells wonderful, but it's just murder on your hands.
We had the floor of it, and the floor, big splinters would come up out of it, especially if you're wearing, socks in the morning.
Yeah, it was an adventure, and my shop, people walk in, they go, I love the smell of your shop. Well, for the last month, I've been turning this stuff. So, no, it was a challenge, but what left me get away with it was it needed to be a memory piece. It didn't need to be a perfect piece for a gallery. They wanted to paint on it. They wanted to remember it like it was. So I'm going to take the floor. The bottoms are about 2 feet tall, or a little square 6-inch. I'm going to plane them off and glue them together in one. I'm going to turn a holiday snowman out of them, big one. So
Jim, have you thought about the pieces you just showed us?
Yeah,
they're all saleable.
You think
those
so?
forms, I guarantee you, they will fly off the display. The rustic, the color, the age is just absolutely. You can sell those forms. If you could duplicate those forms, make vases, they will go absolutely.
I can duplicate them. I've shipped all of these to the daughter who's giving them. I want her a lot of choices. I don't know what she's going to want to do with the extras. There's about 3 or 4. I might have her ship them back to me. I collected all of the posts, so there's still more of the same sections of the post available. And the upside down, the inverted vase, I turn that out of the middle shaped part of the, how porch posts are.
Yeah.
I turned that out of that, so I have lots of that available. So you think they would sell?
Hell yeah! You're familiar with weed pods, right? Rustic weed pods. The simple things. People, they love them. Rustic is still very popular.
Where would you sell that? I mean, I don't sell. I have no interest.
Craft markets, galleries. If you have any kind of small flower shops, because some people call them dust catchers or setabouts. But things like that, it's a, you know, a 40 or 60 or $80 item, somewhere in that price point.
Right.
You can, if you're comfortable selling them for $10, but I don't think anyone should be selling something for $10 because you're wrecking it for everybody else.
Right.
But you absolutely, I will give you money if I'm wrong. They will sell. There's no question about that. People buy fence posts that are turned into weed pots, and it's like crack cocaine for a lot of people. They just go nuts for this stuff, and I get it because it has a neat view. So you have this really rustic surface, like for instance, your porch posts or an old fence rail, a split rail fence rail. And locust is the best wood for that, but it's got that great rustic texture that everybody seems to go nuts for. And then you have that turned part, the top, and you see the wood. They love that. You've got a nice little pot of gold there. Work with it.
Well,
Plus, if
what
it's
do you call them?
fence posts, you probably got. If it's fence posts, you probably got bullets in it too. You know, you'd be surprised. Bullets.
Don't get me started on what was in this. I
Yeah.
had to pick so many rusted nails out of it. I would be turning it, I'd start hearing the ticking, then I'd stop and dig it out, and I
Fair
just made
enough.
it part of it.
Yeah.
What did you call that? Weed pods or wheat?
Yeah, weed pods, WEED pods. They're just like little bud vases. You
Okay.
stick weeds or
They-
posies or whatever. They've been
Oh.
popular for 80 years or more. They're
Politically correct term is twig pot. Weed pot is kind of, hippie.
well,
Yeah, you
it's
keep
not
cannabis in
weed.
a weed pot.
A weed pod is not for marijuana.
I
No, it's not.
understand.
They were
I understand.
because for a long time they would put wildflowers in them, weeds. But yeah, no, there are many different names for it, but it's the same idea. Bud vase. Yeah, they're very
bud
popular.
Jim, what I liked about them was that when you look at some of your configurations, if you turn them upside down, they look just as good.
Thank
And
you. I
it-
forgot that, John, but you told me
One of the
that
tests.
before.
Good
Yeah.
forms look good both ways up. Yep.
If they look
And
both
it's 11 o'clock, all y'all. We'll see you all next week, I think.
Yeah. Okay. You take care.
Thank you for your attention today. Good fun today.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.